Okay, everyone, let's grab our seats. It is officially 8:30 p.m. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome, everybody. Welcome home. A couple quick announcements, especially for the people, the folks at home that listen on YouTube. As powerful and great as some of the speakers that we get here, there's nothing like being here in person. And a couple quick announcements. If you know, this church here has 6 a.m. meetings every morning, so plenty of other meetings. There's a meeting here, 6 p.m. Step and Literature meeting, 6 p.m. every Monday night. And in this room here, right following that, is a 7:30 p.m. Al-Anon Step study. So if you know some family members, or maybe you guys know some alcoholics in your life that you might think you need an Al-Anon meeting, it's pretty enlightening, and it's amazing how sometimes we forget to apply the 12 steps to our loved ones and our family members and this program. With that, I think we have the world's greatest chairperson all the way in from Southern Canada. Please welcome Karen to take over.
Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Kara, and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. Welcome home, everybody. Woo! Woo! This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street, Doylestown, PA. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. and speaker at 8:30 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God, reliance, and service to others through the practice and teachings of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first names? Welcome, Tommy. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with the working knowledge of the 12 steps and willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Beautiful. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? Nick?
My name is Nick. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Nick.
During the cemetery, should we give a bad note? There's a QR code on the back where you can come see me and scan, and I'll put it right back.
Colleen.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I'm an alcoholic. Wednesday night, St. John's in Warminster. There's a Joe and Charlie discussion group. Come out. It's a good time.
Thank you, Colleen. Our sister group is a big book study meeting that meets every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. just up the street at Salem UCC Church, 186 East Court Street, Doylestown. Coffee is on at 6:15. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purpose of big books to help those who cannot afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Books and CD Donations. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, PA, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there. Join our Facebook page to keep informed, and you can share upcoming events and meetings. Now I'd like to ask Brian, who's a good friend of mine, to come up and read Just for Today, Prayer of Recovery. Let's give him a warm welcome. Woo!
Thank you, Kara. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian, and I am an alcoholic. This is Just for Today, a prayer of recovery. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. And with that, we're going to bring Murph up here. Murph is going to read our AA preamble.
Hey guys, I'm Murph. I'm an alcoholic. AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organizations, or institutions. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Mic drop. Please give a hand for Michelle as she reads the 12 steps.
Hi everyone, welcome home. I'm Michelle and I'm an alcoholic. And these are the 12 steps of recovery. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And with that, I'd like to bring Kara back up.
The seventh tradition states, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we do have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big book, CDs, events, workshops, etc. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now, I'd like to introduce the speaker as a good friend of the Conscious Contact Speaker Group. Let's introduce Scott M. He came all the way, from Brooklyn, New York. Woo!
Hi everyone, my name is Scott, and I am definitely an alcoholic. And wow, what energy here. I'm like blown away here, because I haven't seen energy like this at any meeting I've ever gone to. But we got it pretty good Saturday. What is this? What night are we? It's Saturday, right? Taking a drive with a bunch of friends and get in the car and come here all this way, and I always say it's about the journey, right? I remember the journey on these trips more than the meetings. Hopefully that's not the case tonight, but it's a privilege to be here to speak, and I must admit I'm a little nervous tonight. I don't usually get too nervous when I'm speaking, but I don't know, something about wearing a suit at a meeting got me nervous. It's a familiar face. A little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm Scott. I'm an alcoholic, and I am a extremely, extremely grateful alcoholic because this program has given me so many gifts, and probably the greatest gift of all is, I was brought to AA, and AA brought me to God. And when I got here, I was a stone cold atheist. That's where I was at, and I learned I learned how to cope with life through resentment at God right away and very early. I lost my mom when I was 17, and I always thought, like, how can there be a God if this happened? This is what I ran with, and I was my own higher power for most of my adult life until I came in here about 20 years ago. 20 years ago this winter, and I haven't had a drink since December 2005. However, I can't say I've been sober since then because I've had other things in my story, which I'll leave to other places because we're here to talk about alcohol and alcoholism and recovery, and but they're kind of intertwined with each other, and like I said, I did, it's funny, I was driving around today because I'm thinking, wow, the meetings by our house, we share 15, 20 minutes, and my friend Joe, who suggested I come here, tell me it's like an hour. I'm like, whoa, I was like, what am I going to talk about for an hour, So I'm just thinking about not what to say, but just in general, what happened, and I can't explain why, but I was driving around all day today, and tears are like rolling down my face, and a little bit emotional today, because this program has changed me so profoundly and has given me a life, beyond my wildest dreams. And I will tell you, I was one of those people who, when I heard that, when I first came in, I had like a nauseous reaction, beyond the wildest dreams and everything. And I had no clue what was ahead of me. And I do remember, it took a long time to figure out I was an alcoholic. I thought I was a drug addict. I knew I was a drug addict. And alcohol may be a slight problem. I do remember the first time I ever had a sip of alcohol was probably when I was around 10 years old. It was Passover in the house. My parents had some Manischewitz sweet Greek grape wine and mixed it with some seltzer. They're drinking, and they're like, oh, why don't you have Scotty have a little taste of that? And I had as a kid, I took the cup and looking over, and I'm like drinking it fast, before they take it away. And I do remember I felt something, and then I was like, they took the cup away. I waited a few minutes. I'm like, could I have some more of that? So if the alarm bells were going off, but I didn't drink till I didn't get into the stuff till I was like in junior high school, and and then I had a real experience drinking, and I drank for effect. It wasn't like a casual thing. I just wanted to get blasted. That's it. And once I started, it wasn't like once in a while. It was every day. Every day I was doing something. I couldn't be myself. I didn't feel good. I grew up in a household where it appeared to be a happy household, and no one drank, no one drugged in my family. I was kind of the trailblazer. And, but my mom was like so brutally, verbally abusive to my dad. So I would always be cringing and embarrassed when we went out. And, I just wasn't comfortable with being in life. There was something was wrong. And I remember when I started drinking and drugging, it was just like, wow, I felt normal. I can't even explain it, but there was just something about it. And I just wanted to feel like that all the time. And pretty quickly, I developed a nice habit, which was more than more than just a slight problem. I knew early on I had a big problem. I didn't know what to do about it. And for years, that's how it went. And I'll tell you, it really took off when, like I said, my mom had been diagnosed with cancer when I was around 17, and she, thankfully, she went very fast, but that's when I went off the rails. And I didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to think about it. And these were the coping skills that I developed at an early age. And like I said, this is how I ran for a long time. My father wasn't the brightest guy, and it was kind of like I was almost in this world on my own at that point. It was almost like he wasn't able to help bring me up and whatnot. And as a result of that, because it's funny, when you look back on your life, I think as a result of that, I became very aggressive and very ambitious. And I was in survival mode. And I worked very hard, had a pretty good career in television and film, and started at the very bottom, worked my way all the way to the top, CEO of this company. And all through that process, I was drinking, and I was drugging, and I was showing up a couple of days late for work, but I would get there, and I was the boss, so no one's going to tell me what to do. And this is how I was living for a long time. Everyone else knew I had a problem, and they were trying to convince me to get some help. And there was one assistant that I had at my office, and she became friendly with my ex-wife. And I guess they were talking, he needs to go away, this and that. They got me to go to a therapist, and I was seeing this therapist for 2-3 years. And all we talk about is how I had to go to meetings. And I'm like, nah, that's all right. I'm not that bad. Don't you see? I have a business. I have a house. I have 3.2 kids, the dog, the cars. And he would just tell me, look, you keep going. You won't have any of that stuff. And eventually he was right. I ran that business all the way up, and I drove it right into the ground, and I was like the madman, like out of control lunatic. I was basically telling people when the company was going down, like, they're gonna have to rip the wheel out of my hands, because that was my supply of money. And when I had this, I don't say this to brag, I just trying to give you perspective. I made a lot of money in this entertainment business. There were never any financial consequences to the sick thoughts that came into my brain, and I would act on them all the time, and there would never be any financial consequence to it. Maybe I would run out of money 3-4 days later. Let's rest up and we do it again, but never anything significant. So as long as there was this supply of money, it kind of like it had me in a state of total denial that there was anything wrong. And like I said, I'll tell you what, it was to a point where I moved to Manhattan. I had gotten divorced. Beautiful building, the doorman, the whole 9 yards. And you know what? I made all this money, but you know what? After 2 days of partying, I go downstairs, it's pouring rain. I don't even have $1 in my pocket to take a cab to work. I don't even have $1 to get on the subway. I got to walk in the rain. And, I come in drenched. People be looking at me like the president of the company is like just disheveled. And I never really thought like these people their lives count on me running a company so they can have a living. It just never, this world was just whatever I wanted to do. And like I said, I saw this therapist. We were talking about going to meetings. Finally, he got me motivated enough to come to a meeting. And I sat way in the back there, had a hoodie on. I didn't want to, people coming up to me, shaking my hand. And I just wanted no part of this, And honestly, it felt like it was a little bit of a cult. That's what it felt like. And I just wasn't ready for this, you know? And I went back and I told him, and he convinced me to go to a outpatient, Smithers in Manhattan. And that's where I found out I was an alcoholic, besides being a drug addict. And I remember we had like a substitute counselor one day, and this guy was like, he was like that guy from that war movie, Arlie Ermy, and he's screaming, he's like the drill sergeant, you know, and he's going around the room, and he's like, you think you have a problem with alcohol? And he comes to me, and I'm like, no, I just have a drug problem. And he says, yeah. He goes, when you drink, you just have one or two? I'm like, no, not real. How many? Usually 15 or 20. And he goes, what happens next? I said, I start making phone calls to look for other things, you know? He goes, so you can't drink? I'm like, wow, like a light bulb went off. I'm like, he's right. I can't drink either. And so that's how I found out I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And fast forward, I ran this business into the ground, and I had a financial disaster that was insurmountable. You know, I had like this problem where I would just sign for loans and loans and loans. I wouldn't even be sitting on the chair I was sitting on in my office. I didn't even own that chair. It was leased. It was financed. I didn't own anything. You know, this is to the degree of madness. You know, and I thought this was, yeah, we're using other people's money like this. I'm bragging about it. This is sick stuff. And so when the company went down, I was $7 million worth of debt. I owed $1.1 million, $1.2 million in IRS and New York State tax. And I went from the CEO that day to the next day. I was on the food stamp line, the public assistance line, because I didn't have $1 in the bank. That's where this disease brought me to. And it's devastating. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't breathe. My wife at the time, now, you know, I met my wife when we were out there, and we both got into recovery together, and we stayed together, you know, which is amazing, because I've met many people who have met their spouses in these rooms, but we were out there, we came in, and let me tell you, it's so true what they say, the two sickies don't make a welly. It's really true, and it's, you know, you're trying to focus on recovery for yourself, but you know, having a spouse who's in that same situation with a child, you know, it was very difficult, and I just remember, you know, just being devastated and not knowing what to do. My wife she had a mental breakdown. She was in the hospital. The Child Protective Service, like threatening to take my little girl away because we're like viewed as monsters, like how we were living. And yeah, and it's such a dark period that, God, I'm so grateful that we don't, well, I don't live this way anymore, I tell you. And I ended up out in Long Island at my mother-in-law's house while she was in the hospital in a psych ward. And I didn't know what to do. And the seeds were planted though, right? Somehow I did know what to do. I had to look up AA. Like, something told me I need to call someone in AA, and I found the intergroup number out in Nassau County, Long Island, and remember this woman, she was so nice, she picked up the phone, and she spent like 2 hours with me on the phone, and I'm like crying my eyes out. You know, I'm telling her what's going on, and she would say something, and I'd be like, but no, you don't understand. I must have said that, you know, over and over. No, but you don't understand. She goes, no, I do understand. And I'm like, how does she understand? I don't get it. End of the meeting, she says, where are you? I told her, and she says, listen, tomorrow there's a meeting right like 5 minutes from over there, and go over there. Just go. And I made it there the next day, and I remember sitting in the back again, because I still, I just didn't know what to do. I was like just sliding in, hopefully not being noticed. And there was a speaker there celebrating 90 days that day. 90 days. I'm sitting there, I'm like, 90 days? I can get through 9 hours. I don't even know how I'm getting through the next 9 hours. I'm shaking, I'm baking. I'm financially obliterated. There's like fires raging everywhere, destruction everywhere. And I just sat there crying. I couldn't stop. And I remember at the end of the meeting, these guys came over to me. They brought a book. They had all of their names and numbers in there. And they said, yeah, call if you're in a jam, whatever, just call to say hello, and you know what, I did pick up the phone, I tried that. Eventually, I had to move back to Brooklyn, and my mother-in-law was like, you can't stay here. You're not working. Like, you can't just hang around, You could come out when she comes out of the hospital, you could come. Meanwhile, the baby's with her, I just didn't know what to do. I went back to Brooklyn. We had just fled living in Manhattan. I had to move in the middle of the night because I didn't want them to notice that I'm moving out, and we moved in the middle of the night. I had like these Chinese guys in the moving trucks, and like 2 a.m., stuff's not fitting in the apartment. I'm calling my father in the middle of the night, like, Dad, I got to put some stuff in your house. He's like, what? Who is this? Yeah, it was pretty bad, pretty chaotic, And I remember going to that apartment, everything's in boxes. I don't even know where to sleep. Like, the couches aren't even put together. Well, one piece is over there, so I found a little piece of a corner, and forget about finding underwear the next day. That was a whole nother story. But I went to a meeting in Brooklyn, my first meeting in Brooklyn, and I remember I was standing outside, like, chain smoking, like, I say, I just don't know what to do. And this woman comes up to me, introduces herself, and she asks, what's going on? I start talking, she goes, wait, come here. And she drags me, and puts me with the guys, says, talk to Scott, he needs a lot of help, and you know what? These guys took time, like, they were just, they were there to try to help me out, and again, I kept telling them, but you don't understand how bad this situation is. You just don't really get it. And they're like, listen, just keep coming. It'll get better. It will get better. I promise you. And thankfully, you know what? I kept going. I got myself into another outpatient program, which, let me tell you, thank God for these meetings, Only requirement for a membership, is a desire to stop drinking. Not so with the outpatient program. There's insurance involved. It's taken weeks to get approved. And I'm like, I'm already going to meetings. I start going to the outpatient, and I'm like, I'm sitting in these groups, and I'm thinking, wow, no one's here voluntarily. Everyone's mandated by the court here, so no one's there like voluntarily. It's a big difference. And I would hear the way they talk, and I'd be like, wow, I need a meeting after these groups. So we had a couple of guys in the groups were going to meetings. And we'd go to the meetings, and you know what? We had a nice, tight-knit group. As a matter of fact, one of them just celebrated 19 years last night. It was a great anniversary, 3 speakers, all a lot of years. And so I go to these meetings, and and you know what? I started developing some friends here. There's people were like genuinely, like I noticed the difference between the friends that I had out there, because I didn't talk to anyone. They all disappeared after I lost my business. I had no more money left. They were gone. There was no one. I was like on the most lonely island in the world, And then all of a sudden, I start going to these meetings, and like people are like yeah, you need a ride, let's go out to the diner. The diner became like a big deal, you know? And you know, I put some time together. And, you know, I'm still now dealing with the aftermath, right? Because there were such consequences from my lifestyle that I would go to these meetings and I'd listen to people share, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how this stuff is gonna ever get fixed. Like, I literally would be outside watching a plane go by, and I'd be thinking, I'm never gonna have money to get on a plane and go on vacation. Or I didn't even have enough money to file a bankruptcy, and I really needed to file a bankruptcy because there's $7 million and all this tax stuff that was hanging over my head. And like I said, I didn't believe in God. I was an atheist, and I was still in that mode at this point. And you know, the guys that were in my life at that point, they were talking about not pushing the God thing on me. You know, they were gentle with me, if that's the right word. And they said, listen, you believe that there is a power greater, it's right in this room, we're all staying sober. Can you kind of latch on to that? And I was able to do that. That was good enough for them. That's what I needed. And I relied on these people tremendously. And you know, I don't know what happened. You know, 3 years later, I had some time, went back out. I guess the truth of the matter is, because when I came back the next day, I'm trying to analyze, why did I go out? I'm going to meetings, I have a service commitment. Truth be told, I think I'd rather be high than sober. You know, that's what happened that night. And you know what? I didn't do all the things that I was told to do. Make a call, do this, do that, pray to God, which I couldn't because I didn't believe in God. And lo and behold, I went out and called my sponsor in the morning, and he's like, well, you know what you have to do. I'm like, yeah, what's that, John? He goes, you got to go to a meeting, put your hand up and say you have one day back. Ooh, that was brutal. And I did that several times. There's such humiliation coming back after you have some time, putting that hand up, and then, you know, the person you would see floating around, bouncing in and out, you'd be like, welcome back, Scott. And I'd be like, oh, who are you to tell me that? You know what I mean? I was like, you know, I'm really not in a good space, but I got over that, and I went out a couple more times. So I'm going to kind of fast forward a little bit, but you know, over the years, I became friendly with this one gentleman who eventually became my sponsor, but you know, we were talking about this tax problem, you know, and the thing is, I'm starting to understand this first step better, you know, because I came in on the second part of this first step. I could easily admit to you, my life was unmanageable. It wasn't just unmanageable, it was unbearable. That's where I was at. Couldn't understand that until I started going to my home group, basically, and they had like a different explanation, or maybe it was like I was hearing it differently, you know? I don't know which one it was, but listen, I'm gonna drink as long as I live. That's the reality. And I didn't believe in God, so now what, right? I don't have any faith in anything. I don't have anything to put my trust in. And all these consequences, especially this tax problem. This tax problem had me, I was ready to put my head in an oven. I was living like a financial fugitive. And my best thinking in AA on how to deal with this in the early sobriety, well, if I don't file taxes, they don't know where to look for me. So that worked. That worked for like 6-7 more years, right? And I was making money. I was making real money. And that's going up. I don't like, this will never get paid off. Who cares? Like, this is the mindset I had. And I had to get a new career. I was in outpatient, you know, almost a year. and I didn't know what to do. And someone told me, why don't you check out this mortgage business? I was like, you know what? That's pretty good, because I'm so good at borrowing money. I could help other people borrow money, and I don't have to pay it back. This is the dream job, you know? And this is how I got into this mortgage business, and I'll tell you what, I was pretty good at it right away. And I started making a lot of money again, and guess what? Nothing changed. Like, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't drugging, but I was living the same way I was living before. And because I wasn't dealing with this problem, I wouldn't put money in the bank. It was cash. Like if I made a big check, I called the guy at the bank. I go, John, I got a big check, and I got a cashier. You go, how much? 20. He goes, well, I got to order the money. You come in 3 days. And I would like walk out. They would escort me to my car with this cash because I couldn't go to a bank. I wouldn't have a license with my address on it. I didn't want to be found. My ex-wife wanted the address where the kids are. I wouldn't tell her. This was the mindset in sobriety. This wasn't when I was out there anymore. Now I'm sober. I'm not drinking. I'm trying to stay sober. And you know what? It was pretty difficult with this thing hanging over my head. So finally, my good friend Bill, he always had this expression, whatever you would tell him a problem and like how you were dealing with it, you know what he'd say? He'd go, how's that working out for you? Right? Every time. And I'd be like, not so good. That's why I'm here to talk to you about it. And he's like, listen, you got to deal with this. This is taking you out so many times. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get to it. Now I'm in this mortgage business, and I'm doing a lot of work with these Orthodox Jewish investors, attorneys, And I was born Jewish, but I was non-practicing. I had an allergic reaction to religion in general. It's just the way it was. And I would go to these closings, and there was this same attorney there, and he'd say to me, Scott, why don't you own a house? I'd be like, well, it's a long story. And he'd go, tell me your story. And I told him, and he goes, wow. He goes, I have someone who can help you, right? I'm like, really? He writes the name, number. All right, I'll call him. 2 or 3 months go by. I'm at another closing with him. After the closing, Scott, did you call him? I'm like, no, I've been busy. I can't get to it. I'll get to it. And he says, listen, you better go while you can go voluntarily, because it's going to change, when they are coming to bring you in. And I started to think about that, and then lo and behold, a week later, I get a letter in the mail from the IRS. I got a lot of letters before. This one was the most simple letter. It was 1 paragraph, and it frightened me to death. And it said, Dear Mr. Mantell, we'd like to verify your home address. Please confirm. And I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the envelope, and it's sent to my address. And I'm like, whoa, this is like, what? They know where I live already. Why do they want to verify where and I must have put that letter away, take it out, and read it like 20 times that night. And I'm like freaking out. Something told me I better call this gentleman that I was, God put people in my path at this point. I'm starting to realize there's coincidences that are happening that are not so coincidental. And I call this gentleman, and he's like, what happened? Tell me the whole story. I'm like doing a first step with the guy now. This accountant, I'm basically telling my whole life story. And at the end, it was like 40 minutes. He says, wow, I can't help you. It's too big. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? But I do know someone who has helped people in your situation. And I went up there to meet this gentleman and kind of went through the whole thing again. But this guy's doing background checks on me now before he even takes me on as a client. I have no money to give him. I don't know how I'm going to pay him. I have no money to pay the IRS, that's for sure. But I went up to meet him, and something amazing happened that day. Amazing. He says to me, look, I'm going to help you because I checked around to make sure you're like on the up and up. I'm like, really? Like this guy's doing like private detective work. I mean, he goes, look, you're going to have to give me something just to start. There's going to be bills along the way. But now, once I take over, any letter, any call you get, you just give it to me. They're not allowed to call you anymore. And I walked out of that office, and it was like the weight of the world was off my shoulders. Like I didn't realize at the time, but I was giving this problem to God. I didn't realize this. But the feeling I got of freedom at that point, now, my sick brain's telling me how bad this is gonna turn out and everything, and I'm gonna get a check, they're gonna know where I am, and he goes, don't worry about it. And you know what, I listened to this man, and 3-4 years later, we settled this thing for pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. And I looked at this problem, I'm like, this is like Mount Everest. This is like Mount Everest. God moved this mountain. See, now I can look back, I know God was looking out for me when I didn't believe in him, And this problem was getting solved. Somehow it was getting solved. I do want to kind of fast forward because I lose perspective talking this long, but there were a few key points, turning points in this journey of recovery, which brought me to God. And I do want to touch on those because those are, to me, the most important events that happened. And the first one was when my son, the night he was being born, and went to the hospital, just like, wow, what a great night, having a baby. Something went very wrong, and became a C-section. She was hemorrhaging. They go, you know what, we have to ask you to leave. And doctor comes out and says, listen, Scott, you wait here. I'm going to sleep over there in case I have to go back in there and save her life. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And it's 3 a.m. And I'm in this little waiting room, by myself. And I don't know who to call. 3 a.m., like, what am I doing? I don't know what happened, but something told me to close my eyes and pray. And I never did that before. And it was like there was a hand going up my back. And there was a voice. And a voice said, don't worry. Everything will be okay. Not everyone will be okay. Everything will be okay. And I know that was God talking to me. That night is when everything changed. Everything changed. There was no more, I didn't need this group of drunks. There was a God. And all these coincidences that were happening couldn't be chalked up to coincidence anymore. It was just it's like mathematically impossible. And so that night, I remember sitting in this recovery room and my wife was out, and there was this little, she looked like Mother Teresa. She's shuffling back. She looks over at me. She says, just pray. And then I never saw this woman the next week we were there. I never saw her again. I just, it was just something was going on there. And I got back. The next day I'm calling my sponsor. I'm telling him what's going on. You don't understand. Always you don't understand. He goes, I do understand that one. I do understand that one. That was the night that I believed there was a God. And my life changed because of that. And I now had faith, I came to these meetings, I got the gift of hope. And the day I got the gift of hope for real was I went to a meeting, and they have a meeting in Jones Beach, Nassau County, And it's a big meeting, 7 a.m. on the beach. 100, 150 people go, big circle, they bring speakers out, and this speaker told my story with numbers just as big as mine. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. Like, he got out of this problem. And I remember walking away from that meeting, and I'm like, that's the first time I heard someone really, like, there is hope. Like, something really resonated with me that, like, this is not an impossible situation if I don't screw it up again, you know. So this was also, you know, a big night and a big day, because I knew at that moment that if that guy can get out of that jam, I might be able to too. Like, the answer wasn't there. And I used to come to meetings thinking, I'll probably meet like an attorney who is going to help me out. This is my mindset, you know. I'm like, I'm going to find a good attorney in these rooms. Meanwhile, the attorneys I met, their lives are destroyed too, so they're of no help, you understand? They're not going to be of any help, you know? So that's kind of like what happened. That's what it was like, you know, and I'm starting to get better. And I'll kind of shift into like what it's like now and what it's been like now in recovery, having a higher power that I choose to call God, and I trust God with everything at this point. I am all in. I put all my eggs in that basket. And COVID came around, and pretty strange times. And my son was up in Boston. School's closed. He's doing no good. My wife's like, you got to go get him, bring him home. And we all get sick. It was February 21, and she wasn't getting better. And I wasn't getting better. My son was getting better. And it got pretty bad. So I had to bring it to the hospital. You know, it got bad. So we went to the hospital. I dropped her off because, you know, this was just like, you're not staying there. And I went home, and on the way home, I'm panicking. I'm like, wow, what am I going to do if I got to go in the hospital? Because I'm like a day or two out from her, you know. And I don't know, something. I found a doctor that was prescribing some of these controversial medications. So we'll leave it at that. And I got better in hours. I couldn't even believe it. And my daughter got the same medication. She got better in hours. Like, it's the quickest I've ever been healed from any ailment. So naturally, I'm going to the hospital. Doc, you got to hear about this. No, that doesn't work. And I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't work? I'm telling you it works. Whatever was in my house, this is the answer. No, that doesn't work. It's all a fluke. I said, what about my daughter getting better? No, that's just a coincidence. So at that experience now led me to, I guess that was an experience of powerlessness that I had never felt before. And because I can't go crazy, I need these people to try to save my wife's life, you know. And they intubated her. She was fighting them for, you know, a good couple of months. And, you know, a few weeks in, their protocol wasn't working. And I convinced the doctor to prescribe what I had. And the hospital blocked this prescription. And now I'm like, just praying on it. And then someone sends me an article about some attorney who sued the hospital for the same thing. And I'm like, wow. I hired an attorney. I sued the hospital while she's in there trying to get this medication. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And every time the judge told them to give the medication, and they would stop it and withhold it. And then another week or two, I'd have to fight them in court. Unfortunately, she didn't make it. She didn't make it. And at that point, and we were talking about this in the car, for the first time in my life, I didn't know what to do. I never been sober by myself. I've always been in a relationship. So I'm now sober. I've never gone through a death in sobriety before, and this was a big one. And the pain was immense. The panic was there. I wasn't the stay-at-home dad. You know, I went to work. We had a traditional marriage, you know. She stayed home, I went to work, and I could tell you that one night I'm just in bed. I just don't know where to begin. I felt like I just walked into this program as a newcomer. That's the feeling I had, like life's destroyed again. Not due to alcohol and drugs this time. This was life. Life happened, you know, and I never faced life. And now I'm facing life. And I look over to the left, and my wife's bookshelf is over there. And the best way I could describe what happened then was her Bible was there, and it was glowing. It's like a neon sign, pick me up. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I've never read the Bible before. And my wife used to tell me, you need to know what's going on. I'd be like, you're crazy, that stuff's not real. I picked that Bible up, and I start looking through it, and all these paragraphs are highlighted. And naturally, that's the stuff I start reading. And it was like she left me an instruction manual on how to get through life, how to get through a situation. And I don't know what happened that night, but something profoundly changed in me. And it was like the walls around my heart was smashed. And couldn't stop crying in front of my kids. You know, my kids never saw me cry. Matter of fact, my daughter would joke around with the kids and go, you know, Dad's got feelings now. He cries a lot and stuff like this. And I'm thinking, wow, what a nice compliment, you know. I thought, wow, I'm glad my kids see this right now, you know. And these kids, they were so tight with their mother, you know, and I didn't have that relationship. I wasn't the nurturer, and I'm like, wow, this is serious. And I sat down with the kids, you know, and I told them all our roles have to change here, you know. And these kids, what happened is, I never realized like something so beautiful could come out of such a tragedy like that. But the relationship I have with my kids today is amazing, amazing. We have deep conversations about stuff that I never thought would be possible, and they don't worry about me. This is a thing. This is a thing that I can't even tell you how. Because when I used to go pick my kids up in Connecticut when I got divorced, they'd see Dad driving up, and they'd be like, "Oh boy." They would be gagging. They'd be so terrified to get in the car with me. These kids were not worried. They knew I was okay. I can tell you, the miracle is not one time during this whole time period did I even think about drinking. Now, that is a miracle. That is a miracle. Because no one would have blamed me. No one would have known what I was doing. Perfect opportunity. Not one time did the thought, this problem was really removed from me. And I tell you what, I see my kids today. In the last 4 years, they've grown like the most they have in their whole lives. My son, he started working with me. I trained him, so I have like this great relationship with my son where he works side by side now. A couple of weeks ago, he says, you know, I'm moving out. And I was like, wow, that's like such a gut punch. You know, I was like, you know, it was bittersweet. And And then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? This is all God's work here, because He wouldn't have been at my house. This is us. We all face life together. I look in the mirror today. I know I'm being a good dad now. And I wasn't that. I wasn't there for them. And I know today, I can look myself in the mirror and know I'm doing the best I can every day. And as a result, I've seen the growth in them. And I know for myself that I'm a changed person. I'm not going to say I have anything to do with it, because I tried changing myself. I tried stop drinking, couldn't do it. Couldn't stay stopped. I tried everything. I started developing a conscience in this program. Things started bothering me, like all of a sudden, and you know what? I didn't want to live that way anymore. I didn't want to act the way I was. I didn't want to say the things I was saying. And this program, God has changed me to the point where that guy is no longer alive. I am convinced it's not even like I have a new life. This is just a life. And I'm not surviving. My kids aren't just surviving now, they're thriving. And I get chills just talking about it, because I'm sitting there thinking, my God, this is just a disaster waiting to happen, And God, like I said, I look back now, I know God was always there for me. And you know what? When I pray in the morning, I acknowledge that many times, because I thank Him for the beautiful day, beautiful life, and I thank Him for everything He's given, everything He's taken, and everything He's left behind every day. And today I truly live a guided life. Anything that comes up, any of these problems, I know my thinking is no good. No good. I have to give all to God. I am nothing without God today. And I like I told you, when I came in here, stone cold atheist, and this was the greatest gift. And I received many gifts in this program, but this one is the closest to my heart and the most amazing thing that I could have ever gotten from this program. And I want to thank you for listening and having me speak here tonight. I really appreciate it. Scott, alcoholic, thank you.
My name's Nick, I'm an alcoholic. Let's give Scott another round of applause, that was incredible. Powerful, powerful stuff, and there's nothing that is too big with God and AA. I promise you that. Thanks everybody for being here. We could definitely use some help cleaning up, put all the chairs away. I'd like to thank myself for making the coffee. And I did spill one all over the floor, so I am human. It's customary to form a line. Our speakers come here at their own time and expense, so we form a line in the front and thank them on a personal level. Once again, come early and join us. The hot dogs went quick, so come early if you want to get dogs. It's a very popular thing, so if you care to join us, we will circle up and close the Lord's Prayer. Okay. That connection. All right, let's have a moment of silence. Our Father,